What if I told you I could teach you how your client thinks? When you understand how a client processes information, you can help them shift that. And that's how real change happens. And in this episode, I'm going to walk you through a powerful framework that I teach inside of the Art and Skill of Coaching, my advanced coach training program. And this model is going to be able to help you do a couple things in your coaching. Number one, you're going to understand your client and how they interpret the world. Number two, you're going to be able to pinpoint the exact moment or the exact source of their internal discord, the friction and discomfort or resistance or stagnation they're experiencing. And number three, you're going to be able to use that information to guide them towards real lasting change that's sustainable because we're working at the root, not the surface. So let's go ahead and dive in. So often as coaches, we see the result our clients are getting or their lack thereof. And it could be anything, a pattern in a relationship, a behavior they can't change, or a goal that they're struggling to reach on their own. But what ends up happening is that there's this tug of war and this confusion and this kind of throwing the mud at the wall because we don't have a clear framework to figure out why. And without a structure to understand how our clients are processing information, internalizing their experiences, it's going to be hard to know what's going on in there and where we need to intervene. Are we addressing the behavior? Are we addressing the belief? Is it a skill deficit, a cognitive deficit? Is it an emotion that they can't tolerate? Is it a thinking pattern that they're unaware of and need to disrupt? Or are we just guessing or trying to help them by sharing our experience? It's really confusing for both parties. And so today I'm going to be teaching a model that I share inside of ASC, the Art and Skill of Coaching, and it's called the Internal Operating System. And this model is influenced by my training in both CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And what it's going to help you do is decode and truly understand step by step, how is your client processing information? And there's 6 distinct steps that I'm going to be walking you through today. And as always, I'm going to teach the theory, first, and then I'm going to give you a case example to talk about application so that you can hear how it sounds and see how it's used. And so step number 1 is what I call information. So this is all of the internal and external stimuli that your client is constantly being inundated with, thinking about consciously or subconsciously, and they're getting it through their 5 senses. What are they hearing, seeing, feeling, tasting, and touching at all times, whether they're aware of it or not? And what's interesting, just to give you an idea, is that as a human being in their waking hours, on average, they are dealing with about 2 million bits of information per second. There are so many things that are coming at you in this moment, both internally and externally. And what our conscious mind does is it filters it down to just 100 bits of information per second. 2 million to 100. That way we don't get overwhelmed and freak out by being overstimulated. Now, here's what's interesting is you and me might get the same 2 million bits of information in that second, but the 100 bits of information that you and I walk away with are going to be completely different based on number 2. Which is our unique mental filter. So this is that barrier that I was talking about in last week's podcast episode between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And all of us have that barrier, which I call the unique mental filter. And this unique mental filter is going to either delete, distort, or generalize information to fit your client's model of the world. What do I mean by that? How they process, their values, their belief systems, the way that they think, the way that they make decisions. And it's also influenced by both internal and external things like their values, their culture, their age, their demographic, as well as really unique, specific circumstances like the location they are getting this information, the time of day or night, their unique mood in that moment, their self-identity, what role they are in when they receive that information. All of these things are going to influence how they are interpreting those 2 million bits of information. So that's that unique mental filter. And this is the bulk of where coaching happens, deep transformational coaching, because everyone has a unique mental filter. Every single client that you're working with, there might be some themes or patterns that you get really good at, and as you niche down, can really hone in on. But in general, everyone has a unique mental filter. And you should have a lot of this information early on in your coaching. I have a podcast episode that I'll actually link in here called Don't Skip the Setup. And it is important to make sure that on your onboarding forms, your intake assessments, your action planning, your intentional rapport building, you are gathering information about these things as best as you can, because obviously the client's working with you because there's blind spots, but gather as much information as you can so that you can start to conceptualize your client's internal operating system and go in a little bit more aware and prepared and trained in terms of what you might be looking for, where the points of friction might be, where the points of intervention might be. Then here's step 3. That is going to create a thought on the subconscious level. Okay. I'm not going to dive into the subconscious on this podcast. I actually take an entire month to talk about and train our coaches inside of ASC on how to coach on the subconscious level. But just for the sake of teaching you this framework, again, you want to identify next, what is the thought that's cultivated on the subconscious level? That thought is going to take us to step 4, which is the associated state, the emotion, the feeling, which a lot of times is automatic. A lot of coaching falls short because they're only focusing on nervous system regulation and emotion identification, which is important and super profound. But if you want to do transformative coaching, life-changing coaching, you got to go a little further because the emotions are a byproduct of the thought more times than not, okay? And the goal is to build the skill that they can regulate the emotion, not get rid of it, because that's not going to happen. But we can prevent it if we can shift the thoughts. So again, step 1, information. Step 2, unique mental filter. Step 3, thought on the subconscious level. Step 4, an associated emotion. And then step 5 is your behavior. This is the reaction. This could be automatic or intentional. And this is another point of intervention, but this is where the client starts to usually have awareness and or control. And this is where skill development happens and is an important part of coaching. But again, if you want to go deeper, you're going to have to start working at level 2 or 3, not wait till level 5, because after 5, behavior is your results. And your results are the culmination and the byproduct of 1 through 5. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're doing some relationship coaching with your client. They're struggling with their communication, their relationships, and with dating. And let's say the specific result that they want to change is that they keep getting ghosted. And you might have chose to appropriately start at the behavioral level. Maybe you coach them on communication. Maybe you coach them on boundaries. You worked on the behavior, but still nothing changes. This is your sign that you as the coach need to go deeper. And this is where the internal operating system, these 6 steps, can come into play. And so I actually like to take notes during session. And so I will actually walk a client through this and I'll take notes and I'll use their exact language, kind of what I was talking about on last week's podcast episode. And so I'll start at number 6 and I'll work my way back. So let's say number 6, we'll start with the result, they're getting ghosted. We can't control other people's reactions, right? But we can kind of try to understand how might we be contributing to this result, and or where do we have some influence to maybe shift the trajectory of getting ghosted. So start with number 6, the result, they're getting ghosted. Take it to step number 5. What are the behaviors, not the other person's behaviors, but the client's behaviors on those dates? Are they guarded? Are they people pleasing? Are they communicating clearly? Are they sharing their intentions? And what may be influencing that communication or lack thereof by moving to step 4, the emotions. Explore the emotions that are driving that behavior. Are they nervous? Are they feeling insecure? Are they feeling activated? And then from there, once you identify the emotion, take it a step further to step 3 and dig into the thoughts. What is driving that emotional reaction? And maybe this takes a couple rounds. A lot of times clients are going to have immediate awareness of the core thought that's causing all of this. Sometimes we have to kind of work through layers to get to the core thought, but you'll know when you get it because you'll see a shift in the client and it will all make sense. So maybe it sounds like, you know, if I play it cool, then they'll like me more. They'll definitely text me back because I'm easy, right? Which takes us to step number 2, which is starting to identify the thoughts that feel familiar. What are the themes? Are there any filters shaping that thought? And maybe it's a belief or repeated thought that they have accepted as true or have never evaluated. And it could be something like a childhood belief, like people who are successful won't choose me, or people who are really busy can't deal with someone who's needy, or I need to play it cool because a quote unquote high value man wants peace, or something along those lines that is driving that thought process, that's curating that emotion, that's influencing the behavior that is contributing to the result. And when we start to really think about what is setting off that belief system, like maybe having a parent that had a really high demand job and they constantly chose to work or go on work trips or take promotions instead of be at home, and there's nothing wrong with that, but maybe the client internalized that as a child with a child brain that's super egocentric, that I'm difficult, I'm hard, and if I'm easy, they'll stay home or they'll want to spend more time with me. So anything in the environment, internally or externally, that is familiar to that might start to activate this waterfall, this cascade of steps 1 through 6 that are resulting in the ghosting. But once you identify the real thought running the show, you now have an opening for really powerful interventions, whether that's thought cleaning, parts work, or attachment-based approaches, all of which I teach in depth inside of the Art and Skill of Coaching. But when you can map out how your client's mind is working and what their process is, you can stop guessing. You'll stop treating the symptoms and start actually addressing the root. And this is going to lead to deeper, faster, and more sustainable change, because we're not just trying to put a Band-Aid on a broken bone by stopping the ghosting or changing what we say on a date or regulating our emotions in the bathroom, but we're going to the root and we're spending time and appropriately and effectively intervening at what's truly causing the friction or dysfunction. And if you want to learn this technique more in depth, or other proven frameworks like this that are all backed by science, you should definitely apply to the summer class of the Art and Skill of Coaching. Our summer class kicks off in literally a week, guys. This is your last chance to hop in and learn these advanced level coaching techniques, as well as get access to our first ever Business Basics Bootcamp Mastermind Week. This is a bonus 10-hour live training and coaching opportunity where I'm going to teach you all the back-end systems and strategies of my business, because when you have the back-end business strategies and systems and the front-end coaching skills, you can run a very clean, simple, cost-effective, and beneficial, valuable business that is going to support you and your clients in a really meaningful way. So I'm going to throw the link to apply in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please leave us a review or comment and share this link on your socials or with your loved ones or with coaches that you think would benefit from these interventions. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss a new training that will help you master the art and skill of coaching.